Hi, everybody, and welcome to another exciting edition of Words, Images, and Worlds. I am delighted on this episode to be talking with the very patient and very kind, very helpful in scheduling this, Mr. Eric Orchard. Eric, thank you for jumping in and joining.
I'm really glad to be here. It's my socialization for the week.
I absolutely get that. I
Yeah,
absolutely get that, and glad that you chose to socialize with me as well.
I, anywhere else.
I consider you good company, so this
Thank
this is good. I'll mention Bear the Troll being probably the first book of yours that I discovered, just on my journey through sort of unpacking what's out there in the world of graphic novels. And then one of your books that is absolutely one of my favorites as well. It's actually not technically, I guess, a graphic novel, but it's just beautiful. And that's If I Were a Zombie, which is
Oh,
very seasonal.
yeah, very. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Love that one. Love that one. And I appreciate just the work that you put on social media. I enjoy getting to see your progress and all of the process and some of the best stuff that is out there on social media, in my opinion, as well.
I, I think I wish more people would share process. I think there's a bit of embarrassment about unfinished work online.
Hmm.
So people really want to put that polished work out there, but I kind of miss the free for all of seeing sketches, and I eat that stuff up.
Yeah, yeah. I certainly enjoy getting to see it. I'm curious about what's led you to this world of visual storytelling, comics, and the arts.
That's something I've thought a lot about, and it's really hard to answer. It's tricky because my answer might be different tomorrow.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
I mean, I started young. Like I was introduced to comics like Tintin and gosh, ElfQuest when I
Hmm.
was you know 9 and or 7 even, and it just blew my mind, and I want to be a part of that. And it just gave me a love of stories, that those comics. And then like later on there was like Hellboy, and there's God, so many great fantasy comics now, which keeps me propelled. But yeah, it started like just a fascination with comics and storytelling, and then later on it led to more of an interest in the visual arts. And I went to art,
Hmm.
studied painting and art history, and then I came back to comics, and I've just been plugging away ever since.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm glad that you are. Certainly
Thank
glad that you are. Yeah. Um, along the way, any positive collaborators or positive mentors that have been sort of some of those best experiences and some of those best voices that have guided your work or been part of your work?
for sure. Like I've had some great collaborations. One recently that I did was with a writer called Lonnie Nadler,
Hmm.
or Nat,
Hmm.
I think. And he we collaborated on. He wrote a graphic novel. So I wrote the name down. Oh, You Forgot It in People, and it's based on the words, the lyrics of the band Broken Social Scene.
Hmm.
So it's basically a rock and roll comic. And man, that was fun because it gave me a lot of freedom, and I was able to try new things. There
Yeah.
was no editorial oversight that felt oppressive. So I was really grateful to have that opportunity to sort of explore my work, directions I was already going in. So no shocks, but I just felt like a real sense of freedom. And that was my last one. And that was encouraging to have such a fun time recently.
Yeah, yeah, looking forward to checking that out and seeing the rock approach to comics from you as well.
For sure. It's pretty soft.
I like soft rock too. I like that as well. Um, yeah, some acoustic guitars. It's not a bad thing. Not a bad thing. So very often you also work in sort of the streams of supernatural or fantasy or not necessarily horror, but maybe bordering on
Yeah.
sort of the spooky things. So curious, especially as it's leading up to Halloween. What kind of draws you to those kinds of stories?
Again, it's like early memories of discovering it and then connecting with it on a really profound level.
Hmm.
Um, my cousin again, Lorraine, left me editions of EC Comics when I was quite young, so I got exposed to like just the horror stuff, a couple of the war ones, but mostly the horror. And I got exposed to a lot of art that it was pretty pivotal for me. And also, my cousin stored some stuff in the house growing up, and he left a bunch of heavy metals in there.
Hmm.
That was like trove. Like it was great finding those because that's where I discovered Mobius when I was maybe 11. Right, so that's not everyone gets to stumble on Mobius in North America that early. So
Yeah.
I feel pretty privileged to have found that, and and all the European artists. So it's just that early influences, and then like it's just sort of how I respond to the world. I've
Hmm.
tried to write in a non-fantastical way, and it always feels very forced. It's almost like I need those symbols to communicate authentically.
Hmm. Hmm.
I need to deviate from the real world in order for my thoughts to make sense.
Yeah.
And I need a bit of drama or
Yeah.
even melt. I just need that. It feels artificial if I don't have that in, which is funny and ironic. But I just and the most honest I can be is using those tools.
Yeah. Not nice to kind of step out of reality sometimes to understand reality or to reflect on reality.
Precisely. That's exactly what I'm getting at. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
sort of like gives me a bit of distance from the world, and it also provides like important approaches to the world that
Hmm.
are not obvious in a sort of clinical, logical way.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Totally get that. I totally get that. So curious also about the next steps that you're taking in creating, where you mentioned sort of taking the soft rock approach. So curious about where the next steps are that you're finding or maybe thinking about.
Well, I've been juggling a lot of ideas over the last 5 years, and started a lot of projects that just never went anywhere. And then I just about completed a new graphic novel, which is sort of in the line of Bera and Maddie Kettle, in that it's two burglars who are a fox and an owl in this sort of fantasy world, burgling.
Mm-hmm.
And it just sort of gives me, I've written about 3 books on it so far, and I've decided I want to do a series. And that's not really easy to do with a mainstream publisher. So I'm looking at smaller publishers right now and even Kickstarter.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of guests that come on talk about just the virtues of Kickstarter